Welcome to another episode of This Is Why I Don't Vote, a podcast. Season 5, Episode 23. Your safe space to discuss sports, politics, social issues, and even religion. Where we will take it all very seriously, but not too seriously. The Trump-Elon flame war. As a general course of practice now, I would try to stay away from this story, give it a few weeks to breathe, but given some of the developments, namely the things that have been said between Trump and Musk over the internets, the new public square we call social media, I had to do a piece on this. And although it's flown under the radar in the mainstream media, even alternative media sources and social media haven't really focused on this, I had to talk about this detail in the Sean Combs trial of him bringing to a bribery meeting a money counter. You can't make this shit up. Thank you all to my loyal listeners. If you're new to the podcast, please like, subscribe, thumbs up, 5-star, write a review, send to friends and enemies far and wide. This Is Why I Don't Vote podcast is on Patreon. Please consider supporting.
Act 1. The Donald Trump, Elon Musk flame war.
It doesn't matter that I have all the facts or all the information at this point. I can't not address the flame war between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. And as much as each of these two individuals have a roller coaster relationship with a number of people in their orbit and have shown that they can exchange pretty healthy jabs, throw barbs at one another, and yet months, if not years later, have an amicable relationship, given the things that are being said between these two at this point, I don't know that this is going to be a salvageable relationship. Now, most of you know that this is actually occurring, that there's this dispute, this feud between Donald Trump and Elon Musk. I did a segment just last week talking about how there are a number of people likely in Trump's orbit, in his cabinet, outside of the cabinet, but still in his orbit, that are happy now to take shots at Elon Musk as he's exiting his special appointee relationship with the White House. And although Trump is territorial, he's not necessarily loyal. I didn't think that Musk getting into all of these scrapes with so many people that Trump had appointed to these cabinet positions would lead to a destruction, and that's probably the best word for it, a destruction of their relationship. People in Trump's orbit fight. He actually enjoys it. He brings in people with different ideas and he lets them hash it out. And he often sits back in the background to see who, quote unquote, wins. I had a big question mark about that in the writing, in the stream of consciousness ideas I was creating for this piece. And then the New York Times comes out with a story that not only shines light in this separation between Trump and Musk, but it also shines light into what's really important to Musk and what he was doing with the government in this limited time that he was involved. I'm not going to research the guy's name. He's just another name to you and to me. But some billionaire guy that Elon Musk highly respected was going to be appointed to the head of NASA. Now, what's important to Elon Musk? Why was he so adamant, so passionate about being involved in the government? I truly believe that the man thought that he was going to be able to cut out a lot of government fraud and waste. But the reality is he wanted to do two things. One, he wanted to gut a number of the agencies that were investigating the businesses that he was involved with. And two, he wanted to data harvest all of the government information to give him an advantage in his businesses. Say what you want about the ethics, it's pretty damn smart. A number of people in the Republican Party, in MAGA, were willing to allow for these things to happen because, as I've said before, most politicians are just cowards. They want power. They want to be accepted. There's a lot of validation in being a politician, but they're not out there to step out for any particular ideology or group. When you reach a certain level as a politician, it starts to become more about your ego and about yourself than it is about representing anyone. A lot of these Republicans wanted Elon Musk to come in and prove it possible that an elephant can do a one-legged handstand on the head of a pin. What do I mean by that? Everyone knows where all the government waste and the government fraud is. It's in Medicare and it's in the Defense Department. And by the way, quick aside, there are many political leaders on both the Republican side of the aisle and the Democratic side of the aisle that either are indirectly or directly making a ton of money off of the grift that is the Medicare system. Now, it may not necessarily be fraud, but because of all of the waste, the fact that any claim that's submitted to Medicare has to be paid within 30 days and the investigation is done subsequent to the payment, there are a lot of people who are economically invested in that system staying the way that it is. For his part, Musk has a ton of money coming to him and his businesses from the Defense Department. So these Republican politicians, cowards that they are, wanted Elon Musk to go in there and pull some kind of magic trick, identify trillions of dollars of government waste and fraud without touching Medicare and without touching the Defense Department. It was an absolutely asinine endeavor. And to the extent that Musk thought that he could do it, he too was a fool. He really didn't know what he was getting involved with. I think very early on, Musk realized that he was given a fool's errand and he did what he could to accomplish the goals that he came in with. Again, gutting agencies that were investigating his businesses and data mining as much as he could get the government's data. Now back to the New York Times story. How does this all interplay? You have a political backlash now because Elon Musk only saved roughly $150 billion, if you believe that number to be true. And then you look at the budget that's coming out. Not only is that money basically going right back to the Defense Department, but by most estimates, it's going to increase the budget deficit another $2 to $3 to maybe $5 trillion over the course of the next 10 years. Musk wants to go to Mars. Musk needs the government to be solvent, if not flush with cash, for that type of endeavor. And he wanted his influence to remain in the administration vis-a-vis this billionaire that was going to be appointed to NASA. And Trump found out on the day that Musk was leaving the government. Remember, they had that dog and pony show? Apparently, on that same day, Trump had a meeting with Musk where he said, hey, this guy has given money to a number of Democrats that I fucking hate. This isn't good, he says. This is not good at all. And Musk begins to defend this guy, saying, look, he's a billionaire. Billionaires give to both parties. They give to people to effectuate results. This guy is trying to reach an end. And naturally, you're going to have to persuade some people on the left side of the aisle, some on the right side of the aisle. In the moment, Trump isn't buying it, if you believe the reporting of the New York Times. And a day later, after Musk had left the White House and had left the administration, this guy gets the axe. Trump does not appoint him to the head of NASA. He's going to appoint somebody else. And Elon Musk took this as a personal affront and a personal blow. Now, was it? Yes, it was. Because Musk expects, if he's going to be able to get to Mars, if he's going to be able to continue to run his spaceship company, that's what it really is. I mean, they call it a rocket ship company, but he wants to build spaceships that can actually reach Mars. And to hear that, it sounds incredible, if not impossible. But if you were going to do that, what kind of economic contribution would you need to accomplish such a task, let's say within the next 20 to 30 years? It would be hundreds of billions of dollars, if not $1 trillion alone. So Musk sees two things happening at once. He sees all of the efforts that he had at Doge being wiped away, and he sees a budget bill that's not only going to wipe away all of those gains to the extent that you believe that they were achieved, it's going to add significantly to the budget deficit such that a rocket ship program to get to Mars is going to be a fantasy as much as it is today. Certainly it's going to be a fantasy in 10 years. To add a steaming cup of urine to that shit sandwich, the guy that Musk wanted to be appointed as the head of NASA to at least advocate for these types of programs within the administration, he gets the boot. Musk now has politicians who are blaming him for the fact that he didn't cut enough money out of the budget. He didn't find enough waste and fraud to justify this massive increase in the deficit. And I want to take a moment here to talk about the politics of this. Politicians, as cowardly as they may be, are also very smart at what? politics. You put the fall guy out there, Elon Musk, he's got to go out and cut $1 trillion out of the federal budget. And then you can turn around without having to cut spending and offer massive tax cuts. Elon cuts out all the waste and fraud, then you can turn around and justify that savings with a massive tax cut and argue this is going to spur on the economy. When Doge fails at its mission, who's the fall guy? It's Elon Musk. Now you were seeing these shots taken from the right at Musk. He didn't accomplish his mission. This fall guy can provide us political cover. He's taking shots from inside MAGA, from inside the administration, about his personal behavior, his drug use. And now the president himself removes from a very important position to Elon Musk. It may not be that important a position to any one of us. We may not be thinking strategically over the next 10 to 15 years about the space program and reaching Mars, but Elon Musk is. And this important piece, this key to the establishment of a Mars space program is now removed. The proverbial shit has hit the fan. And some of the things now that are being said between the two, it's hard to see a reconciliation. When Elon Musk says that the Epstein files contain Donald Trump's name all over them, and that's the reason why they haven't been released yet, it raises two questions. One, why would you align yourself if you cared about that? If that was a big deal to you, why would you align yourself with someone that was part of the Epstein files, which is basically you saying, hey, this guy, Donald J. Trump, is a pedophile or is at least a pedophile enabler? Why would you align yourself with someone like that? And second, in making such an accusation, how do you come back from that? How do you salvage a relationship between two people when you indirectly call someone a pedophile? I did a segment about this a few weeks ago. In a trade war between the United States and China, who's in a better position to outlast the other, for lack of a better way to say it? Who's in a better position to suffer less? It's China. China is in a better position in a trade war with the United States of America. Elon Musk is not in the position to be blowing up his relationship with Donald Trump. Donald Trump is in a much better position. Why is that? First and foremost, Elon's businesses are a beneficiary of not only government contracts, but of government influence. I'm sure some of you have read stories about the fact that in these trade deals, as part of the negotiation, some of these nations have been required to utilize Starlink as their primary internet provider. So it's not just Elon's businesses getting money directly from the government vis-a-vis these government contracts. It's that the government was using its influence to help increase the visibility and the presence and the economic viability of these businesses as well. What happens when that all goes away? Couple that with the fact that what did Elon want to do? What did I say earlier in this segment? Elon wanted to come in and under the guise of Doge, gut all of these government agencies that had been investigating his businesses. And he did that. As easily as those investigations went away, those investigations can begin again. Finally, in a flame war between Donald Trump and Elon Musk, who do you think MAGA is going to side with? It's clearly going to be with Donald Trump. And Elon Musk alienated many of the people on the left over the course of the last 6 to 12 months. And I don't know that he can salvage a relationship with some of the people that he so heavily relied on as he was developing Tesla. As an indication about how the market looks at this feud, Tesla's stock dropped 14% in a 24-hour period. Now, if you read anything about Tesla, most analysts said Tesla's overvalued in the first place. But this doesn't appear to be the market correcting because they now realize that Tesla's overvalued. This is the rats fleeing the ship because they realize that without the specter of Donald Trump to protect him, Elon Musk is very vulnerable based on Tesla's current business. As I stated in a segment earlier this year, Tesla's in trouble when it comes to international sales. There are too many Chinese EV makers that are simply making better cars. they're going to be a better price point, and you're going to get more features and services for the money that you spend. And generally, it's going to be less money than a Tesla. With all of those EV incentives going away in this new bill, Tesla's in a very vicarious position domestically in the US market because they make one of the more expensive electric vehicles. And to the extent that there's a market that can afford those vehicles, middle class, upper middle class, white liberals, do you think that they're going to buy a Tesla in light of the things that have happened over the course of the last 90 to 120 days? One of the ramifications of this fallout is the fact that so much data was given to Elon Musk and his cronies. And you heard these stories about this company Palantir that now has all of this data. I'm not going to make any comments about it now because it's too soon. It's too much in its infancy. But it's going to be interesting to see how that data is going to be used not only to operate the government. It may very well be that these folks think that they can reinvent the wheel and that by utilizing all of this data through AI, they're going to be able to start performing all of these different functions that the government has performed for years and provide all of these services absent having to hire anyone back. But it could also be that that data is going to be used for more nefarious purposes, spying on Americans, putting people that speak out against this politician or that politician, this administration policy or that administration policy. I'm interested to see, to the extent Musk is aware of that, of the intent, whether or not he comes out and blows the whistle on what the government may use that data for. It gives me no joy to say this, but some of the things that Elon has done over the course of the last 48 hours indicate that the story in the New York Times about his drug use may be more accurate than anyone could have possibly predicted. The things that he's saying to the person that he's saying them to do not represent sane or thoughtful actions. We've all been around that guy, that girl who gets too drunk or too high and it becomes this nightmare because a different person stands before you and you have to manage whatever emotions they're going through. Who is doing that for Elon Musk? What filter is there between his brain and his fingers typing out all of these texts on X? Hey, it's possible that I'm going to be back on here with a segment in the next 6 weeks, the next 8 weeks, talking about how Trump and Elon have kissed and made up. It was also possible that Doge was going to find between a half, if not $1 trillion worth of government waste and fraud, changing the way government operates in the United States of America for at least the next 40 to 50 years. I don't know about you, dear listener, but I'm not holding my breath.
Act 2. Sean Combs Money Counter.
I really don't care about the Sean Combs trial. None of the sort of details really appeals to me. It's the same shit that we've been hearing now for 12 months. But one of the elements of the trial that I found amazing, and I had to comment on it, was the fact that when Combs went to the hotel where he hit this girl, Cassie, and said, "I need that videotape," it appears that he initially didn't offer a bribe. He went down to the hotel with some of his toughs, some of the guys that he pays to be on his security team, and tried to threaten them to give him the tape. And then on the second or third try, the manager of the hotel came to him and said, "Okay, if you want that tape, you've got to pay $50,000. Apparently, they set a date and a time for him to present the money. He comes with the money, I think it's in a duffel bag or a backpack, and a money counter. A money counter. He then proceeds to count out $50,000 and then another $50,000. And he tells this hotel manager, the second 50 is for all of your other people who are involved in this, any of the staff, any of the cleaning services that dealt with this, to keep their mouths shut. I'm fascinated by this. I'm fascinated by the fact that Combs apparently has so much cash on hand and is able to put his hands on it so quickly that he doesn't even think to count that money out prior to his presentation to this place with these people. Under the auspices of this bribe, he just grabs a ton of money and puts it into a bag and takes it to this place and counts it out in front of them. I entertained the idea that perhaps he was doing that because he wanted these people to be sure that the amount of money that he said he would pay them was in fact accurate. But think about it. You're talking about people who are not sophisticated criminals. If you walk into a meeting like that and you say, I demand to see the tape, and they say, well, we want to see the money, and you open up a bag and there's a bunch of money in it, and you give them the bag and they give you the tape, do you think that they're going to have the audacity to tell you, oh, before you walk out, we want to count the money to make sure it's accurate? What are they going to do if the money isn't accurate? What are they going to do if it was only $36,000 and not $50,000? If they run to the police, what are they telling the police? They're implicating themselves in a crime. Remember the episode of Better Call Saul? And I know you all watch Better Call Saul because you've got a soul. Remember the episode of Better Call Saul where Mike escorts the lab tech or the pharmacist, whatever his role was at the pharmaceutical manufacturing plant. He takes him to sell pills to Nacho, providing the security, and when the money's exchanged, he identifies that he's been shorted and he's ready to walk away having been shorted in the deal. Now, in the pretense of that scene, Mike there is the security, and Mike is the one who steps up and says, hey, the deal is a deal. It's all the money or we don't have a deal. In this circumstance, you've got a bunch of hotel employees that don't have any heavy with them. They would have accepted any amount of money that was given to them in the exchange for that video. I highly doubt that they would say, no, before you take that disc, we're going to count out this money to make sure it's accurate. The only conclusion that I can come to is that it was in the moment another flex, which is what this guy apparently loved to do. He loved to flex his power in front of other people. If you could go and put your hands on so much cash that you don't know how much you've actually obtained, and then you take a money counter and in front of somebody else, you say, hey, I don't know how much money I have on hand in this duffel bag. I just grabbed a bunch of the money that I have lying around where I have money lying around, and we'll count it out together. Combs surrendered in New York, and it turns out that in his hotel room, on the night before he was going to surrender, the police came to arrest him. He had a bunch of baby oil and all the paraphernalia for another freak-off. It appears that he was going to do it one last time before he surrendered to the police. I give politicians a hard time. I give actors and actresses a hard time. I give a lot of people in the public eye a hard time because it appears that many of the actions that they take are in service of their ego and are a desperate cry for validation. But nothing speaks to me like I am desperate in my need of validation than taking a money counter to a bribery meeting with a bunch of greedy cunts that have no criminal background and no criminal sophistication. Even under those strangest of circumstances, the man had to seek a flex. In the event Trump does eventually pardon you, Sean, I'm impressed. This is Why Don't Vote, a podcast.